Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, it's the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 525 for the 11th of the 11th, 18. Of course, 100 years ago, since, as they say, the guns fell silent on the Western Front. But coming up this week on the Skeptic Zone podcast, many things. We're going to kick off with the report from the Paranormal and Spiritual Expo held just last weekend here at Kashula, which is just outside of Sydney. Maynard and I jumped into the Skeptic Zone mobile and travelled out there, and I think you'll find this series of interviews very interesting. Now, some of you may be familiar with a wonderful series by Michael Marshall called Be Reasonable, where Marsh has on his show people who believe in this, that, or the other, and his policy is to let them speak, let them put their case, and we, with a more scientific and reasonable outlook, we dare say, can learn an awful lot. Well, this is the attitude Maynard takes. So you'll hear people talking about things that in their minds are quite real. UFOs, and by that I mean obviously aliens coming to see us, say hello. Things like ghost detecting equipment really does work, as claimed. And crystals have magical energies. An insight into the mind of the believer, coming up with Maynard at the top of the show. Following that, it's my interview with Massimo Polidoro from Italy. Massimo, I've known Massimo for a long time. He was, many years ago, an apprentice to James Randi in learning his craft of not only some magic, but investigating the paranormal, the supernatural, and claims thereof. I chat to Massimo about his latest video series, YouTube series, Stranger Stories, where each fortnight Massimo will explain a psychic investigation or look at an interesting paranormal investigation, things of this nature. Stranger Stories, heartily recommended. Links, as always, in the show notes this week. Then to round off the show, it's back to Skepticon, held a couple of weeks ago here in Sydney, Australia, where Maynard chats to Mal Vickers. Now, some months ago on the Skeptic Zone, Mal Vickers put out a call for help. Technical help gathering information from the internet. Well, Mal will report back to us about how successful that was. We also have the final part of Maynard's interviews with Yvette d'Entremont, the SciBabe. Now, Yvette will be talking about William Shatner. What a good idea. Always a good time to talk about William Shatner. Not getting sued and her possible new job. And if that's not enough, Maynard also talks to the wonderfully interesting astronomer Kirsten and the extra wonderful astronomer Dr. Pamela Gay. And an extra big congratulations to Kirsten Banks, who I noticed just in the last week graduated in physics from the University of New South Wales. I think you'll need a big cup of coffee to get through this week's show. Stay tuned at the end for some more announcements from me, but for now, it's time for me to run downstairs, look in the fridge, and see if there's some leftovers from the other night where I made some chicken in a sauce of, was a bit of teriyaki, bit of soy sauce, bit of hot English mustard and wasabi, all mixed up, not to be overpowering, just to give flavour. Marinated the chicken in that, put them all together. I wonder if there's some leftovers. Well, I checked that out. I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone.
That's some spooky tones there. But right now I'm in the it's a bit like, you know how the Scooby-Doo, they have the ghost mobile. What's the thing they have?
I can't remember. Listeners might remember.
Yeah, well, it's a half-decent van they get around in. And,
Mystery Machine?
The Mystery Machine.
Yes.
We've got the nothing to see here machine.
We have.
We drive past and people go, what? Huh? It's the who are they of the who's who. It's a who's who of who's that. Today we'll be going to the Paranormal exhibition. In fact, Richard has the correct name. What is the correct name of where we're going?
Paranormal and Spiritual Expo at Kashula. Yeah.
Right, well, I thought it was Master and Commander on the far side of the world, but we're going to where real people live now, and we've been here a few times. Always good stuff happening there. There's a lot of ghost hunters. There have been some Western Sydney UFO people before, but we're hoping to get that. And when were you there last, Richard?
Oh, a year ago. In fact, a year ago, and a year before that, and a year before that. And the last time I picked up a little alien playing a guitar, which my cat subsequently attacked.
Well, yes, and you want to have a guess. You want to try your psychic powers as to how many psychics will be doing a reading in the psychic room, because people line up and they ask to see what's going on. There's a whole bunch of them at tables. How many this time you want to take a guess at?
My psychic ability, based on previous experience, tells me about 8. About 8, yeah.
No, when I was there last time, I had more than that. And there's always been a lot of ghost hunters around up to this point, and a lot of people with crystals, which is great. And it's always interesting. You'll have someone coming up to you with an interesting point of view, and it's always just good to listen. So we're just passing Maynard at the moment.
Yep, we're zooming down this motorway. It's a nice day, it's warm, but we're in the Skeptic Mobile, which is cleverly disguised to look like an everyday car.
Okay, with a blast from the harmonica. Next time you hear us, we will be in the car park at Kashula, and at certain times of night, that is the place to be.
That sounds like a haunted harmonica, though.
I guess it's always a thing when you are coming through the car park at the Kashula Arts Centre. It's certainly, they've got a community garden going here. That's a new one, Richard.
And a scarecrow. That's a bit spooky.
Well, it's a bit spooky, and it's working. I don't see any birds around.
Yes.
Yeah, that's for sure. There's a few people looking around. I can see the sort of ghost hunty people around. This is going to be an interesting one here.
Everybody, we have Richard Saunders and Maynard here from Skeptics Australia. They're going to be wandering around, interviewing people. They're very lovely. Don't be scared by the fact that they're skeptics. They come every single year, and they always do amazing stories for us. So if they interview you, don't be alarmed.
Thanks.
Well, we're well inside here and having our first coffee and muffin of the day. Richard, I noticed it's the usual mix of people, about 75% women.
Yes, and it seems to be quite crowded at the moment. We're in the corner having our muffin before we get stuck into it after
Although no upstairs from what I can see. In previous years there's been an upstairs. Oh, no, there is a bit of an upstairs happening. We'll have to check that out later.
We'll have to investigate. Normally upstairs they've got tables from UFOs and things like that.
I saw two young women racing in, and they were very keen talking to each other about wanting a reading done. So I imagine they'll be heading straight for the reading room, which we will be having a look at fairly shortly after we've had our muffin. We're just here upstairs, and to our right, there's the psychic reading room. Did you see how many psychics are there doing it?
I didn't. There's about, 12, 13 people waiting to go in.
And I know from experience that you shouldn't talk to people before they go in to have a psychic reading, because they're often very serious, and they're obviously looking for some sort of information, and they don't really want to be spoken to about the whole thing.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think if we walk past and we glance in, we might be able to see how many are in there.
Okay, let's see how well Richard does this casually. There's actually 2 psychic reading rooms there, and probably about 14 psychics all up.
That's called a planchette.
I see you looking. Yes, Richard's looking at a Ouija board here, which is a combination of the French and German words for yes, yes.
Yes, yes, we are.
And interesting enough, when listening to the How to Heretic podcast only this week, they were talking about Ouija boards, and they said that planchette is actually its own word. It's not actually from anything. The only thing in the world called a planchette is a planchette,
And
which is French for Kate Blanchett, isn't it?
I think you're right. This is rather a nice one. It's got a feather on it.
It's rather nice, yes.
Absolutely.
Hello, we're here, and it looks like a bit of a gaming table. What have we got going on here, sir?
Oh, yeah, we're from Good Games Miranda, and we're just here to sell a bunch of games.
Now, what seems to be interesting to people today? What are they looking for?
Dungeons and Dragons is the most popular one at the moment.
So when did that kick off? Is that a 70s thing, or does it predate that?
Yeah, 70s. Maybe 77, 78, something like that.
Wow, okay.
So, a long time ago.
Do we have any idea how many people play that worldwide on a weekly or monthly basis? It's sort of popular, isn't it?
Millions, and it's coming back. There was a show called Stranger Things on TV recently.
Oh, yes, the 80s.
And the kids were playing D&D, and that seems to have spurred a lot of other people to try, and then, it's escalating, so...
That's all right. Now tell us, where can we find you online if people want to know more about your game stuff?
Yep, www.goodgames.com.au/Miranda.
Have a good day here.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I'm just looking at a whole bunch of figurines that are being made, masks and all sorts of things, and this is the guy who makes it. Who have we got here?
My name's Grant. Company's called Cast from Dungeon FX. Generally, I work in the film industry, so I do a lot of prop making, and that transfers over a lot of stuff I do for my business, my company.
Now, you've got a lot of good stuff here. What's the most popular thing? What's the thing people always seem to ask you to make?
Zombies.
Oh, really? Okay.
And mainly because of the Walking Dead TV show.
And where can we see you online? Where can we see your stuff online?
castfromdungeonfx.com.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a good day here.
Yeah, have a good day. Thank you.
Great, thank you very
It does
much.
look pretty wild, doesn't it, Richard?
It's marvellous. There's a lot of time and effort being put into these masks. And, well, they're not masks, they're busts.
Yeah.
They're like realistic looking, but is that a mask? Yes. They're both. That's amazing.
It's the real deal.
It is the real deal, and there's even a clock with a sort of a skull with a armour on it, and that's very good. Look, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde over here.
Good stuff. Now, as I wander around the Paranormal Expo here at Kashula, there's one thing you skeptics can't deny. It smells good. We've got lavender, we've got ylang, we've got myrrh, all those things. It smells really nice here. And that's one thing the skeptics can't match. Good smells. Well, look, I find myself chatting to someone I spoke to a few years ago. I remember you telling me about a really interesting light you saw going along a valley in the Blue Mountains. Is that correct?
Right, yes.
Yeah, and you described it as very spiritual. I do remember that conversation. It was quite moving, yes.
Yes, I do remember that.
And what group are you from for the listeners at home?
This is the UFO and Paranormal Research Society Australia, and we're based in Campbelltown.
And I would recommend that people head along to your website, which is...
UFO and Paranormal Research Society. Well, actually, it's shortened. If you just type in UFO PRSA, you'll get our homepage.
And the reason you should go there is because you have lots of really interesting overseas guests and local guests from time to time, don't you?
That's correct. We have national and international speakers telling us about their research. We meet once a month, second Wednesday of each month, at the Campbelltown Arts Centre.
Can you tell us who's coming up in the coming months that people might have heard of that are coming along?
Well, in 2 weeks' time, on the 14th of November, we have Rex Gilroy as a speaker. Rex is a cryptozoologist, ufologist and author, and he's launching his new book called UFO Dreaming.
Oh, yes, because he has a bit of a theory that there's some sort of base around where the Yowies are or something. Is that his idea?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And have you booked the room to go late? Because he really doesn't like to stop talking. You could be there for quite some time.
He has to stop at 10 o'clock.
That's Rex Gilroy. And tell me, have you had any good sightings since I spoke to you about a year or two ago? I know you often watch the skies and watch the valleys. You see anything interesting that is difficult to explain?
Yeah, there is actually. For all your listeners who are local, there's an area in Port Kembla called Hill 60, and it's a lookout. It looks out over the ocean, and very recently, a month or so ago, there was a sighting there of a multiple sighting. There were 6 witnesses to what they described as a Batmobile type object. It was jet black.
Was it out in the water or in the sky? Where was it?
It actually came up from the water area. We can't say exactly out of the water because they couldn't see over the side, but it hovered in front of them for a couple of seconds, red light pulsating underneath, and then it swooped back to where it came from. And this particular area, the hill, is riddled with tunnels.
Okay.
And we put the EMI meter, the electromagnetic interference meter, all over the hill. And these tunnels are supposed to be empty, but there was heaps and heaps of spikes, which is electromagnetic interference, and there's not supposed to be anything electrical in the area.
I'm glad you mentioned this. What do you think with the ghost people? They have their spirit boxes and they have various things that measure electronic. Is there anything that's actually the most useful thing when you're looking for lights in the sky and vehicles? Is there a technical object you can take with you?
Well, we have a scanner which tells us when there are airplanes in the area, which is very handy. We have a laser pointer. Of course, we don't point them at aircraft. This is to point out whether there are any meteorites or satellites passing. Of course, binoculars, infrared cameras that can see in the dark.
Look, I listen to a lot of UFO podcasts and lots of things all over the place. Conspiranormal's just one of them. The Higher Side Chats is another one. And I seem to notice lately there's been a lot more contactee people talking about things. That there seems to be a bit of a resurgence of the George Adamski contactee thing going on. Am I mistaken, or what do you think?
I think there's an awakening going on. A lot of these contacts speak about being here for a purpose, something that's going to happen on Earth, and they're here to help.
Okay. Do you prescribe to the ultra-terrestrial theory? Is that something you would go with or not?
Describe that to me.
Ultra-terrestrials, I'm given to believe, is beings that aren't from somewhere else. They've been here all the time.
Oh, yes.
We just haven't bumped into them very often.
Yes, definitely. We know that they've been here for thousands of years. There's lots of archaeological evidence of that all over the world, and especially in Australia, as Rex Gilroy and Stephen and Evan Strong know that the out of Africa, like the origins, is not out of Africa but out of Australia. The Australian Aborigines are the first original humans.
And just a little bit of a hint for people out there that might be thinking of getting into watching the sky. When is the best time to watch the sky for looking for unusual phenomenon, and how should you do it? How should you go about it?
The dark of the moon, definitely.
No full moon?
No full moon, no. The dark of the moon, and of course outside of the city where there's no night lights, somewhere rural. And some of the skies in the rural areas are absolutely beautiful. You can look through 5 layers of stars in the sky, and then
because if you don't see anything, you can just do some basic amateur astronomy and enjoy yourself.
You can see all the meteorites, falling stars, satellites.
Thank you very much for your time. I see there's some people lining up here, and it's great to chat to you once again. What's the website where people can find out what you guys get up to?
It's www.ufosociety.net.au, or just type in UFO PRSA.
Great. It's lovely to talk to you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Yes, you may.
I might actually go, look, I think I've come to the right place here. Can I ask you about crystals? Is that your speciality at all or not?
Yes, I do know a little bit about crystals. I know a little bit about everything.
Well, I'm just wondering, for the novice, what's the best general purpose crystal to get for just...
Clear quartz.
Sorry?
Clear quartz.
And why is that?
Because clear quartz can rarely become anything else. It's an attractor. It actually radiates out energy. Do you know that they actually use clear quartz in watches?
The crystal...
See, there you go.
Yes. I think they also use it in fuel injection systems, I think, too, yes.
And there was a very well-known race car driver who used to put crystal in his engines, around on his engine, make it work better.
Well,
so there you go.
That's kind of interesting. So what is the one you shouldn't get as a starter? Or what's a bit of an advanced Crystal, that you shouldn't know?
No, there is not
you can't
one.
Go wrong,
you can't go wrong. Whatever you pick's the right one.
And where can we find you online for what you do?
Secret Witch Business on Facebook.
Standby reporter Richard Saunders here for a moment. It always impresses upon me whenever I come to a Mind Body Wallet or a spiritual expo or a paranormal expo, whatever they call them. It's all right. And you drift past the tables and you see the people doing their things, giving readings or selling their products or talking to people. I'm reminded again of how sincere a lot of these people are and how useless it is really to bang on about how stupid these people are, or they're fooling themselves, or they're all con artists, or it's just the wrong attitude. It gets us nowhere. A lot of these people, for whatever reasons, are sincere and probably very honest people.
Look, Richard, honestly, a lot of them have more fun than you too, to be honest, really.
Well, let's be honest.
She's also got volume 1 and volume 2 here.
Yes, I'm surprised you didn't pipe up there, Richard, when she mentioned the Peter Brock engine, Crystal.
Why? Why would I? Wreck a good interview?
I thought you were going to go, oh yeah, they got a bent spoon one year, and I'll go, shh, Saunders, shh, be quiet.
Be quiet, exactly.
I'm trying to have a nice conversation.
Hi boys, how are you?
Hello, how are you? Can we have a chat for a moment? I don't want to take away from sales with the Oz Paratech table here, and I've got to say there's a lot of good stuff here, and I thought I'd ask straight away, what's the Rolls Royce of ghost detecting devices at the moment in 2018? What's the one that's kind of new and is kind of kicking the goals that is kind of newish?
Okay, the newest bit of gear we've got is the S-Box, which is a radio wave scanner, but you can record this as you're investigating and review immediately to see if you've caught anything.
Right, so that's an improvement upon the original Spirit Box there, and because you can actually play it back later. Is that the advantage of it?
Yeah, that's what it does. And so if you're on a line of questioning and you get something that's getting intelligent responses, then you can go back, listen, and think, oh, I'm on a good line here. I'll keep up with this questioning and see what we get.
That's cool. And what do people seem to be interested in asking you about this time round?
Wow, there's a lot of questions about all the different types of technology. We're getting a lot of interest in the EMF meters because there are so many different levels. You can get a basic one, mid-range, and then you go for the deluxe, which is the mil meters.
And is EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, still as big as it was?
Yeah, look, some people have to use their common sense, though. Very important to mark anything you hear at the time, because when you go back and you play it and you forget that somebody in the corner may have just farted, and you think it's a ghost voice going, demon!
And where can we see your stuff online and have a bit of a look at what your wares are and what you do with the gear?
You can find us at ozparatech.com and also on Facebook.
And what's your recommendation for somewhere to go looking for ghosts? What's your favourite place to go looking for a bit of EVP, etc.?
My favourite place is probably Q Station, followed by Maitland Jail. They're two of my favourites. It's a great spot. That's where I saw my first full apparition that I have no explanation for. I opened the jail, I closed the jail that night. That person was not on our tour.
Wow. And could you describe what it looked like?
Absolutely, because they're only walking about 15 metres in front of me. I thought it was a guest that had got lost, and they had a black leather jacket on, khaki pants, balding patch on their head with a bit of a rat's tail down the back, and I was about to yell out to them, you need a torch, it's too dangerous. Turned around to make sure the people were following me, turned back, and he was gone. Wow. And I checked all the cells nearby.
Wow. Okay, so how did a seasoned person like yourself react to that?
I got very excited.
Wow. I would have pooped myself personally, but if someone like you, that's what you're there for.
No, that's what I'm there for. That's sort of the holy grail of it all. I'm a very sceptic person myself, and for me to see that with my own eyes and know that person was not within the walls, unless they're very good at scaling them, that did my head in for a bit.
Okay. Well, I hope nothing like that happens today, and it's great talking to you again.
Yeah, nice to talk to you too. Bye-bye.
Oh, well, look, we're here looking at a lot of equipment. We've got cameras, of course. We've got the haunted bear here. Could you just explain what the haunted bear is all about?
So, Boo Buddy was kind of designed as a sole investigator. So you could put him in a room and he would do the investigating for you. Oh. So he's absolutely riddled with sensors, so to pick up any temperature fluctuations. He also records So if anyone's speaking or anything, he's going to capture that. He'll also ask questions. So the creator of this bear actually got his little daughter to do the voice for it. And it will also let you know if the temperature goes up or down. So he'll say a little something like, "Ooh, it's getting cold in here."
Wow.
Yeah.
That would kind of freak me out. I don't think I could handle it. You'd have to have a tough kid to have this, I reckon.
Really, really do. But we also hope it's kind of like attractive to the younger spirits if they're around. Like we've got a little girl here. Apparently she likes to be up on the corridor where we're doing our psychic readings.
It's cooler up there too.
Oh, it's disgustingly hot down here. So,
and where can we see you online?
Our website at appyghosthunts.com. You can always email us at info@appyghosthunts.com, and we're also on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yeah, no worries at all.
It's a spooky looking bear, isn't it? Sort of, you know.
It is a spooky bear at not a distance.
It's a stronger kid than me would have to handle that, because if I had a bear that was telling me it's getting colder, I'd just move house. I'd move out. But what have you been up to? Oh, of course, who have we got here?
I mean, you've got Beth Darlington from Access Paranormal.
Yeah, and of course you were at the Skepticon.
I was, and I had a fabulous time.
I was about to say, yeah, well, the Skeptic's good because sometimes, you know, they can be a bit funny.
Actually, great senses of humour, yes, of course.
You didn't get pinned into a boring conversation with a neckbeard?
Oh, no.
Oh, good.
I was avoiding that.
Oh,
I did well.
So what do you reckon is the highlight here today? You've seen a lot of this stuff before. What's going on today in your mind?
I think there's quite a lot of jars with miniature sort of tables and spooky sort of like dollhouse type stuff. I think that seems to be a thing this year. There's quite a few stalls of that kind of stuff on. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And look, and if someone was wanting to see a psychic or a medium, how can you tell a good one from a bad one? How can you?
Well, that's the thing. I think you have to do your research before you turn up, I would say.
Yeah, because I was looking, there's about 14 up there, and I'm going, well, they all look... I think if they've got a name like Bevan or something, like they've got a bit of a spiritual name, that's good, but if their name's Dave, that's not a good thing.
No, it's like, I'm going to have a reading with Don. You know, it sort of doesn't quite have that magical appeal, does it? No.
Yeah. Look, have a good time here, and I'm interested... I've had a great chat with the Western Suburb UFO people that are down there.
Yes, they come every year, I think.
They are great, and they've been talking about some sightings that have been seen off the coast of Port Kembla at Hill 60, looking out to sea. So there's one for people at home.
Oh, true, and also apparently Narrabene's a hot spot as well.
All right, any idea why?
No idea. No idea.
And I asked them, what is the main bit of tech gear you take for UFO spotting? And they said, a scanner, because you'll get civilian aircraft. So if it's an aircraft, you'll know about it.
Well, there you go. Learn something new every day. Exactly.
Well, have a good time here. And look, if you do see some Emily the Strange pyjamas, let me know.
I will.
Yeah.
Well, the disembodied voice that's been telling everybody what to do, where to go, and just being all spooky belongs to
Pete Banks.
And how many years have you done this for?
This is our 7th year now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what way has it changed? I notice some years you have more ghost hunters than others, and some years there's more psychics than others. What seems to be the big to-do in the paranormal world this year?
Well, it just seems to be first in, best dressed. We're getting more and more popular, so whoever books their stalls first gets... Yeah.
Okay, is there any sort of paranormal bent this year more than others?
Not really. It's pretty much the same. We do have the UFO guys doing a talk today. We haven't had them for quite a few years, but we've got a few other interesting things, like a stage hypnotist. I can't wait to see him.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have Florence King doing the platform readings this year, and we have an embalmer, which I'm really excited about.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you'd want some consent going on that, wouldn't you, really?
Well, that's an 18 and over.
Oh, right.
Yes, that's an 18 and over talk.
I'm liking the sound of that already.
Yeah,
cool.
So it's a day in the life of an embalmer, everything you've ever wanted to know about the embalming process. And she's an amazing woman. She actually does the disaster. So she went to the Bali disaster and all of those. Yeah, she's incredible.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think of that bear that lights up and talks to you when there's a change in temperature in the room that goes, it's getting colder? If I was a kid, that bear would freak me out.
It's a great gimmick, isn't it?
It's a great gimmick, but it's scary. Yeah, that's the Boo Bear. Keep an eye out for it.
The Boo Bear, the Boo Buddy. The theory with the Boo Buddy is that apparently it is a paranormal investigator on its own. So apparently if there's a change in temperature, it will talk. Or if it feels that it's been touched, it will do the, that tickles. So I don't have all that much faith in the Boo Buddy, but, people like them.
It looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, have a good time here.
Thanks, guys.
Well, hey, Richard, you are very, when the temperature goes up, you sort of fall apart quite quickly. How warm do you think it is at the moment?
Oh, outside it must be in the 30, 32, 33, I guess. Inside it's probably 27.
Yeah.
But in that other room, it's a lovely
Very nice.
18.
The UFO room is the cool one. That's where you should be.
It's all over for another year. We're walking back to the car now. Oh, we'll get run over in a second.
Yeah. Now you are.
Did you enjoy it today?
I did. It seemed a little one or two things less than normal, but still a good sense. And one thing I did notice today, last time I was here 2 years ago, there was guys that seemed to be like unwillingly being dragged around by their girlfriend or wife, and I didn't see much of that today.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
But it was a good crowd there, and we're in the car park now, and there are quite a lot of cars, 100 cars, I don't know.
Yep, plenty of people here, and I'm really looking forward to getting in that air conditioning in the car there, getting it wound up nice and high.
You know, I gotta say, Bigfoot's BS, but the chupacabra is totally the result of top-secret government genetic experiments on a remote island.
Taking medical advice from Gwyneth Paltrow, like steaming your lady parts and putting jade eggs all up in there, is a great way to improve your health.
Police from around the world regularly use psychics to solve crimes. They just don't talk about it.
Spontaneous human combustion is for sure a real thing. I've read all about it on the internet, and I worry someday it's going to happen to me.
We all have friends and family who believe these things and much more. Well, if you're a rational thinker who is tired of arguing on social media and never getting anywhere, we have a solution for you.
Join the Guerrilla Skepticism and Wikipedia team, and we will teach you how to add reliable scientific and skeptical information to the world's #1 source of information, Wikipedia.
We write new articles and improve existing ones. We remove pseudoscience, paranormal, and alt-med claims, substituting the actual facts. And we operate in many languages.
We've already reached tens of millions of people searching for information, but as you can imagine, we can never do enough.
So please, join us. All you need is a PC, a Facebook account, and the desire to help educate the planet. In fact, you'll be educating the world while you sleep.
Contact us at gsowteam@gmail.com.
Guerrilla Skepticism. The time is now.
Music by PurplePlanet.com.
And joining me now all the way from Milan in Italy, it's Massimo Polidoro. Hello, Massimo.
Hello, Richard.
Hello, should I say ciao?
Yes, that's the correct way. Ciao a tutti.
Now, you and I have known each other for many years, but we only get to see each other, I don't know, maybe once every 2 or 3 years if we're lucky.
Yeah, that's right. Usually at some great convention in the United States or maybe in Europe as well.
Yeah, it's strange because, I can't remember. Honestly, I can't remember the first time I met you. It could have been at the Amazing meeting or something like that. And just to give our audience a little bit of background, you have been involved in skepticism and magic now for many, many years, haven't you?
Yes, let's say a few decades.
Decades?
I was lucky enough to have Randy as my mentor when I was 18 actually, so I had a chance to go in the United States and study with him and learn from the master.
That's quite a privilege, of course, and you must have some amazing stories to tell from when you were alongside James Randi.
Oh, well, you can imagine following him everywhere, investigating psychics and charlatans of every kind. Yeah, there's quite a lot of stories there.
This could be a whole new... This should be a book, actually, following James Randi around doing... So, I mean, the times I've spent with him have been wonderfully interesting experiences in themselves. Now, the reason... I guess the main reason that I've contacted you for an interview, and we can talk about some of your adventures soon, is that you've been on the internet now. You've been on YouTube for a long time doing something called Massimo Polidoro's Mysteries, but it's all been in Italian.
which is great, which is fine, and I'm sure everybody who speaks Italian, and many thousands and millions of people in this country certainly speak Italian. But for the rest of the world, for the English speakers especially, you've just started a new series called Stranger Stories. Can you tell me what inspired you to do that?
Oh yes, well, this is something that I wanted to do for a long time, and finally I started doing it in Italian because it was, of course, much easier to do and to broadcast for an audience that already knows me here in Italy. Yeah. And the idea was to present investigations of unusual claims or mysteries, classical, Loch Ness Monster, the Shroud of Turin, the pyramids, time travel, whatever, from a skeptical point of view, let's say, with a scientific approach, which is also should not be seen as something dry or too serious, because it is not. Mm-hmm. It's done in fun, but still with the basis of the scientific method. But the fact is that, as you said, Italians are almost everywhere, but they are very few compared to the English-speaking audience. So I decided that it was time to present this information as well in English, especially those that have been involved personally, and share it with the community, not only of skeptics but also of curious people, because there are so many people out there that don't know about our work, and YouTube now is one of probably the best medium to reach younger audiences. So I thought that this was worth working on it.
Absolutely, and what I'll do now, actually, Massimo, is I'll play a short clip from the very first episode you've put up of Stranger Stories. Now, this beginning episode, the first episode, involves James Randi. So here's the clip.
In 1974, a man was unexpectedly challenged on live television to guess the content of a sealed envelope and then bend a solid stainless steel spoon. Incredibly, he was able to do both. His name? No, not Uri Geller, but James Randi. Today at Stranger Stories, we will see Randi perform that incredible feat, and then we'll learn how he did it. Ready? Let's go. Welcome, my name is Massimo Polidoro, and for the most part of my life I've been investigating phenomena that appear to be strange and mysterious. But often things are not what they seem. Every 2 weeks we will investigate a new mystery that upon close examination may turn out to be somewhat different from what it appeared in the beginning. If you are like me and you too want to learn how to discern fact from fiction, I invite you to subscribe to my channel in order not to miss the next episodes. So click on the red button and the little bell, and then let's begin.
If that doesn't whet your appetite, folks, I don't know what will. Now, I have seen that episode. I've seen the episode, Massimo, and I'm not going to give anything away for the audience because I really want the audience to see this for themselves. But what I can say is it does somewhat show behind the curtains of James Randi, and does actually explain how he pulled off an absolutely astonishing routine on television.
This is one of the many adventures that Randi has, and this is a really fantastic one that when I read about it the first time when I was a kid, this was the first thing that I asked him when I met him finally, because it's like a puzzle, like an Agatha Christie mystery, where you have to, how could he do that? It's impossible, and yet he did. And in this first video, we discover how Randi did this incredible feat, and he tells himself.
Yes, he's happy to explain the mystery behind what he did.
Yes, because it's always important to share this information. He's not claiming, of course, any psychic powers, but he wants you to understand how these things work. They do not work by the book. Some people think that fake psychics take their tricks from magic books. Well, sometimes maybe they do, but more often than not, they just invent something on the spot, and then it's impossible to trace it back to find how they did it. So this is a very nice example.
I can tell the audience that when they watch it, it does involve spoon bending, which is a favorite of mine. And I must say, Massimo, that the production... it is. I love to watch it. And I must say, Massimo, the production quality, the video quality and the audio and the music is really, really good. Do you have a production company, or how do you go about doing that?
Well, thank you. Thank you for the compliment. The production company is made of one, which is the one speaking now.
well, I'm very impressed because I think it's very professional. And I thought that you must have been in a studio with a director or something like that, because it's so well done indeed. Congratulations, because I, as you may remember, I make videos myself, so I can certainly I can certainly appreciate good technique. And just before we go, Massimo, can you tell me a little bit about CICAP, the Italian Skeptic organization?
Absolutely. Well, CICAP was born almost 30 years ago, and it's the Italian Committee for the Investigation of Claims on Pseudoscience. It was started by very famous here in Italy science journalist Piero Angela, and he was able to bring in Nobel Prize winners and famous people and famous scholars like Umberto Eco and others. And so it started 30 years ago, and today CICAP is well established. We have about 20 chapters in every region of Italy. We have a national festival that draws this year. It drew 12,000 people.
Wow!
And so we are very active and produce a lot of material, a lot of information, and we keep on doing it. And it's the good thing is that it's growing. So it's always growing.
That's really great news, folks. I'll link to that organization in this week's show notes, and I'll certainly link to Stranger Stories, the YouTube series just started with Massimo Polidoro. It doesn't go too long. It's about 10 minutes or so, Massimo?
Yeah, well, actually, this Randi episode is about 19 minutes.
Oh, right. Okay, it was so engaging. It went by very quickly.
That's a great compliment. The Italian series, it's about 10, 15 minutes, but this one needed a longer explanation. But this is coming every 2 weeks, so the next episode is here already, and I hope that your listeners like it.
I'm sure they will, folks. Don't delay. Have a look at the first episode of Stranger Stories. You'll love it. You get the peek behind the methodology of James Randi. Well, Massimo Polidoro, I hope I get to see you next year. Who knows where? In some convention.
Absolutely.
I should come to Italy. Actually, I would really love to do that. I would really love to do that.
Absolutely. The same. I should come to Australia.
I think we should try to arrange something here. There's wonderful Italian food in Sydney. I promise you that. On that happy thought, Massimo Polidoro, thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. It was a pleasure.
Hey, fellow skeptics.
Ben Radford here.
With Celestia Ward.
Your friendly host of Squaring the Strange.
A podcast that looks at topics ranging from legends, panics, and cryptids
to media myths, psychology, and folklore.
Breaking things down and picking things apart.
As we skeptics do.
We bring a few different perspectives on things.
Celestia, for example, is a witty cartoonist.
And Ben is a brilliant writer and longtime skeptical investigator.
We don't always agree.
But we have fun trying.
And we learn new things.
Join us for new topics every week or two.
Or browse our backlog of evergreen episodes.
Available on iTunes and all your podcast feeding troughs.
Squaring the Strange.
Take care, strangers.
Bye-bye.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance.
Now, Richard just come up and grabbed me, Mal. I've got Mal Vickers here, and you said that a little while ago, you asked the Skeptic Zone listeners to come to your aid. What was going on, Mal? Tell us the story here.
I've been doing some research with, actually directed by Professor Ken Harvey, or Dr. Ken Harvey is more commonly known. And I needed some IT help. The research was kind of beyond me. There's actually thousands of documents on a government website called the Complaints Resolution Panel. And, the documents were tucked away, they're PDFs, and I needed to look at these overall and do overall searches on it. So I needed to basically scrape, scrape the website.
Some automation software to do all this specific thing for you.
Yeah, and what's more, the Complaints Resolution Panel was going to be abolished. So we needed to get the information quickly, and there are no assurances that all the information wouldn't disappear overnight when the panel was abolished. So 10 of the most amazing IT guys came forward, and I only wanted one, actually. I was just looking for one person.
And it was just through the Skeptic Zone, was it?
Just through the Skeptic Zone listenership. Actually, I got such a big response, I had to put these guys together on an email list to try and, so I could tell them all, this is what the project's about, this is what I need done. And it was great. From all over Australia, mostly. One guy in Ireland came forward and said, we can scrape this website for you.
And as the Americans might have said, there was dudes named Ben from all over the world turned up there, because I bet there's some famous congressman and said, there's some dude named Ben who looks after my emails. And so now whenever an IT guy comes up, I think, dude named Ben. There could be dudettes named Ben as well. And so how long did they take to do it? Because time was of the essence.
All of these documents were grabbed and copied almost immediately by several of them, actually. A guy in particular, Dylan Lewis, duplicated all these documents and put them on his own website first. So they were all safe. They were, out of then the health department's hands. They were, in a safe place where I could get copies of them, if you like, and then. Then the real work started, and they actually grabbed all the information out of these documents and put it in searchable form, actually in an enormous spreadsheet, actually, so that I could do my analysis work, which is still going on, but it's generating great results.
Do you want us to name some names for thanks, or they wish to remain anonymous? They'd be like with the Lone Ranger, they've got that mask on, they're riding away into the distance.
Dylan Lewis and Matthew Bishop are the two main ones who did.
Dylan and Matthew, way to go!
Well done. Really helped both Ken and I, and really valuable information.
So these are complaints about products or about doctors and doctors' behaviour? What are the health complaints specifically about?
Yeah. They're actually complaints about advertising. So
right. So it's very specific.
Specific therapeutics goods advertising. So the kind of products that you see in the front of a pharmacy.
Right. So what's this process now? Now that they've changed it, is there no process for complaining now, or is it double secret special stuff?
The process is the complaints go to the Therapeutic Goods Administration directly. This panel used to be kind of independent, and they were just judging the complaint, if you like. It was always the case if real enforcement was needed, the issue went to the TGA. Often they didn't deal with it, and they didn't deal with it very well.
We want to thank the Skeptic Zone IT listeners for jumping into the breach there. And is there anywhere we can go online to have a look at the work that's been done, or is that stuff you're doing privately?
It's actually still ongoing. So still essentially crunching the numbers and looking at it in different ways. Hope to be published fairly soon. And look, I'll pass a message on when there is something available online that people can look at.
Great, thank you, Mal. If you ever need any help again, come straight to the Skeptic Zone. Don't talk to me. Talk to Richard. He's the guy who gets the stuff done.
Okay, thank you, Maynard.
Okay. Someone who's scouting out the situation today is the SciBabe.
It's Yvette d'Entremont, and correct pronunciation on the SciBabe, but I don't think that was our concern. And thank you for having me here at Australian Skeptics Conference.
It's very exciting.
I say our only hope for humanity is we should elect Jeff Goldblum to be president. I think him with Nick Cage for his vice president, and that I think will save us. So I don't know why. I have no idea what their political stances are, but I think that
where would William Shatner be in the cabinet? I know he's Canadian, but where would you put him?
I would put him in charge of the FCC because it might take him. He will take so long.
Well, the more important the pronouncement, the longer the pause. I think we should. And everyone breaks for lunch, and yeah.
He will take so long to tell us his pronouncements. Like I think charge of the FCC. He's so old and cranky and mad at it. He blocked me on Twitter.
Now, what did you point out? Something he didn't want to point out?
I think just he was of all things, he was being kind of cranky at David Gorski, and I dig Gorski. I love his work, and I was just like, I think he found the page on Gorski from TruthWiki, which is just a bastion of scummery and horribleness. And like I was like, how did you find? I'm like, yes, it's on the internet. It doesn't mean it's true. I could put it out there. I forget exactly what I wrote, but like instantly banned. And like 2 months later, I was on the same flight as William Shatner, and I'm like, I'm gonna hide. Not that I think William Shatner remembers some random idiot that he blocked on the internet, but I'm like, oh. Never mind. I guess I'll never get that autograph now.
Well, he charges for them now too.
Yeah, I know.
What has the SciBabe got to cover on YouTube and around the place that you haven't covered? Are you running out of stuff?
There's always going to be something new. Like I said, there's always
a new one we should be looking out for.
Well, let's see. Right now, I mean, this is kind of unfortunate. The main place where I do my deep dives, we have run out of money. And normally, all of my work has to go through a lawyer and a fact checker and 4 editors. We're really careful so we don't get sued. Oh. And I want to get away from some of the stuff that I feel can get me sued. And I mean, it's so difficult to bulletproof these articles. And that's been one of the harder things. So I'm trying to move in a direction where I still feel like I'm debunking and still feel like I'm teaching science without doing, quote, takedowns. And as much as those takedowns are so satisfying.
The amount of legal cost in you to make sure you're going to be okay at the end of it.
Like when we have to sit down for like each of these articles with our, with the website's lawyers for a couple of hours. Like I don't even know how much that costs the website to do. Yeah. But right now the website, it's a newish website, and they go through growing pains. So I'm glad that I still have a writing job, but it's also making me go, I have to reevaluate what I'm doing. Do I go and find new and interesting science? Do I look into emerging fields and say what they're, where they're at now? I have at the moment an offer to do some consulting at a cannabis research lab, so I might do and I have to look into what the COI is on that, if it's a conflict of interest to tell people about the science, if I'm getting paid to research it, and I'm trying to be very careful about conflict of interest type stuff. And
it's a tough one because you think you would tell people, and that would at least they can then make up their own mind. But then again, people could wipe you out straight away.
Yeah. I mean, there are people who are professional, academic researchers who go and do SciComm about it. But it's if I were to write about that, I would write about it at my own website, not in any capacity where somebody else pays me to write. So it's that way. At least I'm keeping. At least I'm saying, if you want to quote pay me by coming and looking at my website and me getting some ad revenue from it, I think that's an okay place to put that, but not put as a proviso. I work in this industry, so it's please go ahead, check all the links, check all the things that I've added for evidence on this, because I still think that it's there are so many myths in the cannabis field, it doesn't cure cancer, it can't replace all medicines, I love that there are some really strong advocates for it, but they do no help to their case by trying to say that it cures everything, because it does not cure everything. It helps with a handful of things, and it's really, really useful for those. And there's also no problem if adults want to get high. You want to drink, that's not a problem. Don't get behind the wheel. Same thing with pot.
Okay. So, and where can we find the SciBabe doing her stuff?
It's at my home with a cat on my lap. But since I can't fit you all in there, I'm at facebook.com/SciBabe, SciBabe.com, and over at Twitter and Instagram at the SciBabe. And if you want to find my writing, I have a lot of really fun stuff over at The Outline and at self.com.
Look, I'm just backstage now. It's still the first day. We're just about to go into the first lunch break. But we've got someone who's coming up this afternoon with a talk. It's
Kirsten Banks.
Ah, yes, we had a chat with you last night. How late did the drinks go, too? I had to leave the drinks, decided to get out here early this morning.
I think, well, personally, I didn't get home until 1, so I'm a little
Kicking on.
Kicking on, indeed. But I think we wrapped up around, I don't know, 11 or so.
Because you and Pamela were just yakety-yakety. It was the astronomer thing there. And you were speaking each other's language. So the word Beetlejuice come up in the conversation, which is one of the biggest stars, I believe, that are around?
Surprisingly, no, it did not come up in conversation. But I'll tell you what, it comes up in my talk today.
Ah, well,
So-
are you looking at relative solar masses, are you?
Not quite, but you'll see.
See, because I was getting close to it.
You're getting close, yeah.
Okay. And you were saying you actually spent a day with Dr. Carl, because every once in a while Dr. Carl will bring a guest with him along on his Thursdays that he spends talking to the BBC and a whole bunch of science outlets around the world. What was your contribution when you were there with Dr. Carl for the day?
When I was there with Dr. Carl for the day, he let me join in on his BBC Europe, almost worldwide extravaganza, and I was like, oh, okay. But luckily he told me after the fact, when I was joining in talking about it, saying that you were just live all over Europe. I'm like, I've gone global.
That's pretty special.
It was pretty incredible, yeah.
And you said that you had to correct him because Dr. Carl doesn't make too many mistakes, but in the area of astronomy he might have made one.
Well, like you said this morning, his physics, not quite that great, but it's a number. Like, numbers are hard to remember sometimes. It was just the distance from the Earth to the Sun. Someone said 140 million. I was like, Carl, it's 150 million kilometres. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, that would make a lot if you had to walk it.
That's very true, yes.
And what do you like with calculating orbital dynamics? Is that your kind of range too that you do, or is that a bit more for someone in the mathematical realm?
Well, I like creating computer programs. Just the other day I created a solar system model where you can plug in how big you want your sun to be, and it will tell you how big all the other planets are and how far away they are from each other.
But I love the Oort cloud, because that's where the aliens first turned up from, if you remember, in Independence Day.
Yes.
They first saw the spaceship when it came out of the Oort cloud, which makes it sound like it's an actual cloud.
I know, yeah.
Where you might see it in there. It's not hidden by that stuff, because there's big gaps between everything, isn't it?
Exactly. There's a lot of space in space. That's why we call it space.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, this is the thing that amazed me, because I thought, okay, we've got the Voyager 1 or 2 just speeding away there. I think it's only a couple of light hours. It's not a light day away from Earth yet, is it?
It's pretty far. I know it's travelling at over 61,000 kilometres per hour, which is incredible.
Yeah, I can't remember, but listeners can look it up. It's only a couple of days and something in light travels. Yeah. Bit of a bore, really. And it's in the middle of nowhere. And I thought, well, haven't you switched? It hasn't got a radar going, so it doesn't bump into stuff. And they went, no, it's not going to bump into. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you see those sci-fi movies where the protagonist is heroically dodging asteroids left, right, and centre, but really,
they're not that packed.
It's not that packed, no.
Yeah. And if they were that packed, they'd be gravitationally attracted to each other, and they probably would be really close together if they were that close.
It'd be like a Saturn's ring around the entire solar system.
Oh, I've been watching Space Month on Discovery Channel 2, and I saw the history of the Saturn V rocket, which is kind of exciting, and it reminded me that it's more powerful than anything we've made since, which is a bit disappointing. Yeah, so if we could go somewhere with a big rocket that's even more powerful than Saturn V, where should we go if we had that kind of power again?
I think we should go. I mean, everyone says Mars, but we've already sent things to Mars. We've done a lot of exploration there already. I think we should go somewhere like
I'm thinking North Pole of Neptune, where they've got that square structure that I think's an alien thing.
True. I think we should go to one of Jupiter's or Saturn's moons.
Ooh, is there one that we haven't looked at as much as we should?
I think there's one that's like shaped as ravioli, which would be really fun to go to.
You're just making that up. You're trolling me.
It's legit. It's made out of ravioli. Or not made out of ravioli, but it looks like ravioli.
It's a huge Italian kitchen just near Jupiter.
Yes, exactly.
Wow, does it look like a bow tie pasta? Or it looks ravioli? Wow.
Like, it looks like a piece of ravioli. Like a little bump in the middle and the outer little bit. It's great.
Now, are you expecting any trouble with the skeptical audience? Because as you know, there's a few smarty bums out there. Do you think anyone during the Q&A at the end might go, excuse me?
Oh, I'm not sure. We'll see. People tend to be a little bit more reserved when they're asking questions about my field because they don't want to, say the wrong thing or anything, which is perfectly fine. Like, if you say the wrong thing, like what's the whole point? We're having a conversation to elude the fact that we get away from saying the wrong thing more often. So we'll see how it goes.
And just for an astronomer, do you have a really powerful telescope at home that you use? Were you lucky enough to get one as you grew up, like a really big one with a camera attached? What do you got at home?
Nothing at the moment, but I've gained some money from my 21st birthday, and I'm just about to buy myself my first telescope.
What are you going to get? I mean, what is within the range that you can get? Because there's some powerful stuff, and there's also optical and digital magnification, which is very different as well, yeah.
Yeah, so the one I'm looking at the moment is a Celestron Wi-Fi one.
Oh, okay.
It's about 5 inches wide.
So you can be inside the house on the couch, and then you can just do it all automatically. That's cool.
Just do it with your phone. It's great.
And what do you like looking at the most? Is it the obvious stuff like Venus and Jupiter because they're easy and big to find, or can we actually get great stuff further away?
With the Wi-Fi ones and ones that you can actually have a program inside of, you can tell it to go wherever you want. So you're not you're not visually searching, exactly. You're not relying on what you can actually physically see.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, well, and good luck with that. And you got your loud... Is that your loud dress you were talking on? Is that the Indigenous print dress?
This is the Indigenous print dress. It is, I forget where...
There would have been a lot of blue used originally in... would there?
Well, I mean...
Just because they didn't have the dyes for blue, that's all. It would have been a hard one.
Yeah, you usually paint with ochre, which is like the sandstone sort of... paint that you would make, add some water with it. So usually you get like the browns and the yellows.
I'm sure you probably could have got a blue with some beetle or something if you'd smashed something up, maybe. But it would be rare.
Rare indeed. But this is the Tree of Life dress,
okay.
Where it's the tree
which is how does it work? So is the end of life at the top or the end of life at the
I'm not
bottom?
really sure where exactly it all goes, but it represents trees that were used for sacred burial sites.
Wow, okay.
So it's a very, very sacred, very important sort of painting for our culture.
Great. Well, thank you very much, and good luck out there on the stage this afternoon.
Thank you. I look forward to pumping up the crowd.
So, Dr. Pamela Gay, as a 21-year-old rookie up there on stage, how do you think Kirsten went explaining Aboriginal or Indigenous astronomy?
She has a poise and a well-timed sense of humour that I couldn't even dream of at that age. It's amazing to watch.
At 21, I couldn't have done that, no.
No, I'm 44 and I hope to do that tomorrow. It's amazing to see young communicators coming up and finding their own way to talk, their own way to be themselves and embrace who they are. And with her, she's uniquely herself, and all of us want to listen to that and be part of that.
Yeah, she's getting inspiration, obviously, from a number of people that she's seen doing things there. Maybe a bit of Dr. Carl there from his pacing?
I'm just going to go with it's her, and she's awesome.
Yeah, look, you really don't have to look for inspiration. Kirsten, you're awesome. Thanks.
Agreed.
Oh, hang on. Did you get the star and the planet right? Because I was thinking, because you do that every day. Did you get which was the star and which was the planet?
No, I got it totally wrong, but I knew which two they were, and I'm going to blame the Southern Hemisphere for that.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, now you're here, because you've got a different view of this. Is there anything you love seeing here that you can't see in the Northern Hemisphere that our skies have got?
So the large and small Magellanic clouds are always going to be sweet to me. The thing that really gets me is the Tarantula Nebula through a 8-inch telescope. Looks like you're looking at the face of a tarantula.
Wow.
And you just can't see that in the north.
Wow, okay, that's great. Yeah, because up in the north, see, it doesn't mean much to me because I'm not much of an astronomer, but up in the north, it doesn't seem that much different to me, but it's completely different, isn't it?
It's completely different. And
what do I know?
My favorite thing is just seeing Orion turn on its head.
Oh, wow, okay, cool.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone. Now, another way people listen to the Skeptic Zone is via YouTube, and all the episodes, well, mostly, I think, probably 90% of the episodes of the Skeptic Zone are on YouTube. Links in this week's show notes, or if you just go to theskepticzone.tv and look up the top, you'll see the YouTube link, and there's always a YouTube link on the page anyway, accompanying the episode. That's another way for you, hopefully, to enjoy the Skeptic Zone. Thank you to those people who continue to support the Skeptic Zone with micropayments and Patreon. I'm using a new system this week to record what you're hearing at the moment, and it's all due to the generosity of those people who do chip in, contribute, and all the rest of it. This means a lot to me and also to Maynard at maynard.com.au. Both of us rely on your generosity to keep both our podcasts ticking over. And I think you can tell by this week's episode how busy and how productive Maynard is, not only doing reports for the Skeptic Zone, but then he'll go home and spend hours and hours and days editing his own podcasts at Planet Maynard. Maynard.com.au. Check it out. Coming up on next week's show, more from Skepticon, because Maynard was so busy. I think we've got an interview with a couple of magicians lined up. That should be interesting. Also, our reporter from the Northern Territory, our new reporter, Michelle Franklin. I think she's got a story concerning cane toads and other creatures. But for this week, this is Richard Saunders signing off from the Skeptic Zone. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Please visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for show notes, contacts, and to access the back catalogue of episodes going back to 2008. You can follow the Skeptic Zone podcast on Twitter at Skeptic Zone, visit our Facebook page, or leave a review on iTunes. You can also support the Skeptic Zone via Patreon or PayPal. The Skeptic Zone podcast is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian skeptics or any other skeptical organisation.
Wow, that was such a big episode. I'm here with Maynard at the Cafe Madame Frou Frou just to get over it.
Hi, look, it was pretty exciting. As you know, I was in it a fair bit there. And boy, it was hot at Kashula, wasn't it? Very warm there.
That was something quite spooky about that paranormal convention because it was so hot. We were melting.
And it was great hearing from everybody what they believed, why they believed, and their various reportings of things they'd seen. And I found it fascinating.
It was a good day. It was a good day, folks. I always recommend you go to a paranormal convention. I've got the 10-sided die here. Maynard?
Okay.
Why don't we give it a go? So folks at home and driving in your car and commuting and doing the dishes, use your psychic prediction. Maynard's about to roll the die.
Looks like a 4. 4, folks. A big 4.
Big 4, that's the first number, so I don't know how many people got that. And the next number is?
A 6. A big. That's 4 and a 6.
4 and a 6. Now use your prediction power one more time. Maynard, concentrate. He's rolling the dice.
We're going for the supplementary here. Of course, if you've been betting on the Melbourne Cup this week, you're probably still drunk. 2. 4, 6 and 2 is the lucky number, and I believe we have a winner from West Hobart. Congratulations, our winner from West Hobart. You won yourself nothing. Hello, I'm the Skeptical... It's the Skeptical Cat. Hello, I'm Maud the Skeptical Cat. I've got the power of speech. That's amazing, Maud. Bye, gotta go. How about that, Richard?
She must come here for the coffee, I think.
I think she's off to West Hobart.